For decades, audiences thought they knew her story. The girl next door from Gidget, the beloved sitcom nun, the two-time Oscar winner who famously told a room full of her peers that they liked her. What almost nobody knew is how much pain she carried behind that likability, and how long it took her to finally say so out loud. Sally Field's early career nearly didn't survive its own success. Cast in lightweight sitcoms like Gidget and The Flying Nun as a teenager, she spent years being dismissed by casting directors and critics as too cute to be taken seriously as an actress. It wasn't until 1976, when she took on the demanding lead role in the television movie Sybil, playing a woman with dissociative identity disorder, that Hollywood finally started to see her differently. That performance changed the direction of her entire career. It also brought her into a relationship that would shape the next several years of her life. On the set of Smokey and the Bandit in 1977, she met Burt Reynolds, then one of the biggest movie stars in the world. Their relationship lasted several years, on and off, and for a long time, the public understood it as a glamorous Hollywood romance. Field's own account, published decades later, told a more complicated story. She has described the relationship as controlling and emotionally abusive, saying it was hugely significant to her own personal growth, precisely because of how difficult it was to move through. What Field eventually revealed is that the relationship didn't exist in isolation. In her 2018 memoir, In Pieces, she wrote for the first time publicly about enduring sexual abuse as a child and adolescent at the hands of her stepfather, stuntman and actor Jock Mahoney. She has said she came to understand her relationship with Reynolds, years later, as an unconscious attempt to work through unresolved patterns from that childhood trauma, trying, in her own words, to make things turn out differently the second time around. Writing that book wasn't easy, and Field has said she genuinely wasn't sure, while working on it, whether she would ever have the courage to actually publish it. She wrote it initially just for herself, without any certainty it would ever reach readers. That she eventually chose to share it anyway, at 71 years old, after a lifetime of being known publicly as warm and approachable, was its own kind of quiet bravery, the decision to complicate a beloved public image with an honest, difficult truth. Throughout all of this, her career never stopped building. She won her first Academy Award for Norma Ray in 1980, and her second for Places in the Heart in 1985, an acceptance speech remembered and often misquoted for her raw, emotional insistence that after years of being underestimated, she finally felt genuinely respected by her peers. She continued working steadily for decades afterward, in film, television, and theater, refusing to let any single chapter, painful or triumphant, define the whole of her career. Now approaching 80, Sally Field remains active and visible, still taking on demanding roles, still willing to speak candidly about difficult chapters of her life when asked. She has said that writing her memoir helped her finally understand herself as a whole person, rather than pieces she'd spent decades trying to keep separate from one another. So the next time you see a new photo of Sally Field, remember that the woman in it spent most of her life being underestimated, carried real private pain through some of her most publicly celebrated years, and eventually found the courage to tell her own story honestly, on her own terms, rather than let the world keep guessing at it.